This is the Silver Star Nation 2016 Dallas Cowboys Draft Special.
No one does it bigger than the Dallas Cowboys. And to return to championship glory, Dallas must strike gold during the draft. Whether it's a steal with the first-round pick or finding a diamond in the late-round rough, the road to Silver Star success starts now. Welcome to the Silver Star Nation's Dallas Cowboys Draft Special. I'm Wes Moore. The Cowboys are looking to bounce back after a disappointing 2015 season marred by injuries that saw them finish in last place in the NFC East with a 4-12 record. The key to a bounce-back season could rest in this year's draft. We'll break it down from top to bottom this half hour with our panel. Babe Laufenberg, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback. We got Mickey Spagnola and former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Clint Sterner, now with the SEC Network. The Cowboys have 9 picks in this year's draft, and of course all eyes are on that number 4 overall selection, but there are some potential value picks in the mid-rounds. And Dallas should be busy on the final day with 4 picks bunched together in the 6th round. Let's start, though, with that number 1 pick, number 4 overall. The big question Jerry Jones has to answer: do you draft for need or do you take the best player available? Let's bring in our panel. Mickey, let's start with you. What are the Cowboys thinking at that number 4 pick?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. Babe and I were just talking. It was like, you know, when they draft 20, it's like, well, you got 19 things to happen before that, so it's kind of hard to judge. But even at 4 now, and even if 2 quarterbacks go with the top 2 picks, it's like, okay, well, what's San Diego going to do? And if I knew that, then I could tell you maybe what the Cowboys are going to do at number 4. I think they've got a range that they can go with, and I'm not sure. Short of drafting another offensive lineman in the first round, I would argue or criticize whatever they do at number 4, because whatever they do, I think, Babe, it's going to help them out.
Well, I'm a big fan of drafting the best player available at your position of need. So I'm playing the fence both ways.
There you go. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
No, I think you come into these things and you see many times, because you say, hey, if Tunsil is there at number 4, Cowboys don't need an offensive lineman. They're set there. They've allocated a lot of, obviously, high draft picks and a lot of money to the position. And my thing, too, Mickey, is I think you have to stay flexible on draft day, and I think the Cowboys do that. We saw with the Travis Frederick, Terrence Williams trade to the San Francisco 49ers. They had the pick at 15. I think they would have taken the safety from Texas, Kenny Vaccaro, at that pick. New Orleans takes him 2 picks previous. Eric Reed was available, who the 49ers wanted. They trade that pick. They come down. They get 2 players. So the notion going into the draft that we're either going to trade up or trade down, I just think you stay flexible and see what comes in that day.
Yeah, kind of work all your scenarios beforehand, so when you get on the clock, you're not sitting there going, oh, I didn't expect that. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Clint, what about the possibility of trading up? Is there a quarterback in this draft that you like so much that you would pick draft or maybe trade up to number 2?
No, there's not. For me, there's question marks with each guy, and that's not a knock on that specific player. At the end of the day, if you're going to take a guy that high, that's going to essentially take over your program, or you're going to expect to take over your organization moving forward, you better be sold 100%. And as you look back through history, there's been as many bust as there has been Peyton Mannings that have come via top 5 picks. So for me, it's a trade down unless it comes your turn and there's a player that is a guy that you don't see yourself getting, a talent that you don't see yourself getting next year, and it's a position of need. You got to grab him. Other than that, I'm trading down, and I'm going to get as many bodies as I can in those earlier rounds.
Well, Babe, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, do you like either one of those guys enough that you would trade up a couple of spots to ensure you get at number 2?
Well, the problem is, obviously, the Rams are going to take a quarterback at number 1. They're playing it coy as to who they will take. I happen to like Carson Wentz. Had the opportunity to see him here in North Texas in the championship game here. Very impressed by him there. He's a powerful player, good player. And again, if the Cowboys were to select him, which I don't think they're going to get a shot at, he's got time to groom himself. People say, well, small college. Well, oh, by the way, it's the same division that Tony Romo came out of. So the notion that you play these guys right away, I think it does as much harm as good. To me, that thing, Mick, in that 4th pick, you got a chance to take a special player. Maybe it's Ezekiel Elliott. I know a lot of people say, well, you don't draft a running back high. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
No, absolutely. And that would be my fallback if stuff I wanted was gone already.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott can help me out. As for trading up, I just think the Cowboys have enough other things to do in this draft that you don't want to give up picks. And you know, I'll guarantee you Cleveland's going to hold you hostage, and you're going to have to give up a lot. And if I'm moving up, then I got to know beyond a shadow of doubt that that quarterback's Troy Aikman, because it might as well be the first pick in the draft. To me, even at the 4th pick in the draft, he's still got to be Troy Aikman. Otherwise, you know what? There's going to be another quarterback next year, and maybe the year after that's going to be drafted high. Now, I may not be that high, but I should get a chance to pick a quarterback. Babe, if I was desperate and I said, oh, I just got to have a quarterback, then maybe I'd think about it. The Cowboys aren't in that situation.
And I really thought the Rams just gave up too much to get up there. And it was interesting, too. Obviously, they were the recipients of all the draft picks, trading away the pick at number 2 for RG3. We saw how that turned out. Didn't do much for the Rams either, holding all those picks. They've had 12 consecutive non-winning seasons. They haven't had a winning season in 12 years. And the notion that, well, they've got to sell tickets by taking the quarterback, I hate to say this, God love him, but I don't think Jared Goff or Carson Wentz or that guy you put up on the billboard. Remember, LA is used to players with one name, Kobe, Magic, Kareem, right? I don't know that Carson is quite there yet.
And it's not Joe Namath either, by the way.
Yeah.
While we're talking about the mock drafts, let's take a look at a couple of them. Walter Football has Wentz going number 1 to the Rams, then Goff to Cleveland, Tunsil to San Diego, Ramsey to the Cowboys, and then Mack to Jacksonville. Lance Zierlein from NFL.com has Wentz, then Jack, Ramsey to San Diego, and the Cowboys getting Goff at 4. Next mock draft comes to us from Pete Prisco, CBS Sports. He has Wentz, then Goff, Tunsil to San Diego, and the Cowboys ending up with Ramsey. And the final mock draft for you, Rob Rank, CBS Sports, Wentz, Goff, Ramsey to San Diego, and Bosa to Dallas. The Cowboys face some serious questions on defense, and they may not be able to count on 2 of their heavy hitters from last season. When we come back, we'll look at the team's biggest needs on defense and examine whether the biggest stars in this year's draft are the right fit.
There's a whole lot of talk about the Dallas Cowboys using the 4th pick in this year's draft on a quarterback. But just know only 3 times in their 55-year history of the draft have they selected a quarterback in the 1st round. Craig Morton in 1965, Troy Aikman in 1989, and Steve Walsh in the 89 supplemental draft, making the historical odds of doing so a 4th time quite long.
Watching the Silver Star Nation 2016 Dallas Cowboys Draft Special.
This time 1 year ago, the Dallas Cowboys were looking for major help on the defensive side of the ball. And that was their focus early in the draft. They walked away with 2 nice names early, taking cornerback/safety Byron Jones in round 1 and defensive end Randy Gregory in round 2. But the team still struggled at times on defense, and they still have some holes to plug on defense. Mickey, when you look at the defensive needs of this team, where do you start with the Cowboys?
Well, here's what I've been saying all offseason when people ask me who the Cowboys should draft. I continue to say they need somebody that can go get the quarterback or somebody that can take the ball away from the quarterback. So to me, that means an edge rusher or a defensive back who can cover and maybe give my front line more time to get to the quarterback. The Cowboys have to get more pressure on the quarterback. They have to get more takeaways. I think either of those two positions impact your defense the most.
Described a couple of guys that should be there at number 4. Joey Bosa, the defensive end from Ohio State, and also Jalen Ramsey, a cornerback that can go and get you the ball. Exactly what you said. Would you be happy with either one of those guys?
I'd certainly be happy with Jalen Ramsey. He looks like he's a great athlete, and I'm not talking just about testing. You know, when you look into his background, this guy in high school was a state champion in the decathlon. So he can do a lot of different things, not just run fast, not just jump high, but do all the things you have to do in a decathlon. So that tells me he's a great athlete. He can play safety, he can play corner. I'd put him at corner, and I like his nature. I like that he's got a little bit of vinegar in his veins. And the fact that when they asked him after the Rams traded up for the first pick, his response was, "I didn't know the Rams thought that much about me." I like that in my cornerback. As for Joey Bosa, I think he's a good defensive end. My worry is, if I'm drafting that high, a defensive end, is he DeMarcus Ware? Is he a double-digit sack guy? And I don't like sometimes when I hear the people that are kind of analyzing him out there saying he's not a fast twitch guy. Well, if I'm taking that guy at number 4, he better have one heck of a twitch to get to the quarterback. I don't want a strong side guy that's going to just get me 5 or 6 sacks a season. I need a guy that's potentially going to get me double-digit sacks if I'm taking that defensive end at number 4.
There has been some discussion of Miles Jack, a linebacker out of UCLA. I know the knee injury is a concern. What do you think the Cowboys feel about his knee and the potential of drafting a linebacker?
Well, they certainly went to Indianapolis earlier in the week for the medical recheck. So they got an opportunity to see just where that knee is. He had a torn lateral meniscus. What scares me about that is that happened in September. And remember, it's a meniscus. It's not an ACL. And here it is in April, and he hasn't run for anybody yet. And I just don't know that you want to take a chance medically on a guy drafting him that high. If it was lower in the draft, say I was at 20, I might take that chance. But at number 4, boy, I need a guy that comes in here the first day and that first rookie mini camp, and he can go run out there. He's not going to sit there and go, well, I'm still rehabbing. I just think that's too high to take a chance if you are scared about the medical recheck. And one of the things I think they're scared about is his longevity. And if he can't play through a second contract because you're worried about that knee, then I got to pass on that.
This may be the deepest draft for defensive tackles if you want to talk about a specific position. Do you think the Cowboys at some point early on take a defensive tackle?
Well, they might do that. I don't see it in the first round. Second or third round, if that guy's that good and he's still on the board, maybe you do that. But that's why they brought in Cedric Thornton, the defensive tackle they signed from Philadelphia in free agency. He's going to take over Nick Hayden's spot at that one technique. You already got Crawford there at the other side of the defensive tackle position, and you've got some other guys that can rotate in there. Remember, they're getting Terrell McClain back also this year. So they're always hesitant, it seems like, to if that guy's not a 3-technique defensive tackle, I don't think they would take him in the first, but maybe later in the draft, you go ahead and try to get you a big guy to help out that's a little bit younger.
Still to come, the team expects a healthy Dez Bryant back for 2016, but other than old 88, the offense is short of explosive threats. Look at how Dallas can use this year's draft to improve that department.
Just remember, the upcoming NFL draft is not all about the first round. The Cowboys have found 6 of their 13 NFL Hall of Famers in rounds 2 through 10. Larry Allen and Mel Renfro in the second. Charles Haley by the 49ers in the 4th. Bob Hayes and Rayfield Wright in the 7th. And Roger Staubach with extenuating circumstances in the 10th. There are gems to be found later in the draft. The Dallas Cowboys have the 4th pick in this year's NFL Draft, highest since 1991 when they traded up to the 1st pick to select Russell Maryland. The last time they earned a pick this high and actually used it, 1989, selecting Troy Aikman with the 1st pick in the draft, and they would have had the 1st pick in 1990, having spent it already in '89 in the supplemental draft for Steve Walsh.
You're watching the Silver Star Nation 2016 Dallas Cowboys Draft Special.
The loss of Tony Romo was devastating for the Cowboys offense in 2015, but Dez Bryant missing significant time with a broken foot highlighted a lack of explosive players on the offensive side of the ball. We rejoin our panel. Guys, how important is it for the Cowboys to go out and get another explosive player like a running back or a wide receiver?
Mickey?
Well, I think that's what you're looking for. Now, it's a matter of your priorities and how high you want to do that. If you're going to take a wide receiver, to me, that guy's got to be somebody that can take the top off the defense. I mean, somebody that can just run straight down the field and burn a DB with his speed. They could use somebody like that. I don't know that you're going to do that in the 1st round with the likes of Dez Bryant already there, but maybe down the road you look for a guy, maybe like a Sterling Shepard, who can play multiple positions. And I don't know that they're trying to replace Terrence Williams, because remember 2 years ago that wasn't a problem, and last year I don't know, Babe, where Lance Dunbar is going to be, but he was going to be that kind of little speedy toy they were going to use in the offense, and they lost him too.
Well, and I think wide receiver is very high on my priority list, Mickey, and there's not that guy, there's not a Julio Jones or somebody that you would take it for in this draft. However, the guy you mentioned, Sterling Shepard, is a guy that intrigues me as well. Just played up the road from the Cowboys, a little north here at Norman, obviously. The only thing that concerns me a little bit about him, he's 5'10" and a quarter, and that's a difficult guy to make your kind of #1 receiver. And I know you've got Dez Bryant, but I thought as much as anything, people pointed to the play of the quarterbacks last year, and it really was not that bad. But once Dez went out, the defense just closed in. They played a lot of press coverage, dared the wide receivers to beat him on the outside, and they couldn't. So Dez may go out again, Mickey. We know he's got, I don't want to say a history of injuries, but hey, he had a number of things last year going on, and I don't know how healthy he'll be. So if Dez goes out, you can't just throw up your hands and say, well, there goes Dez, and there goes our season.
I agree. I like the Sterling Shepard call. He's a guy that he may only be 5'10" or 5'9.5", 5'10", whatever, but he's a thick kid, one. Number two, he makes a lot of catches away from his body. He can go up and get the football. And I'm not real concerned with the guy that can necessarily run away from the defender as much as a guy that can just make plays as a #1. Obviously, be a great compliment to Dez Bryant and Beasley and those guys, that group of receivers. But if Dez does go down, how do they answer that? I'm going to go with running back, though. If you can get your hands on Ezekiel Elliott somehow, some way, I'm sold. 1,800 plus yards. Went for 200 versus Stanford, 200 versus Bama, 200 versus Oregon. The guy's obviously durable. He's got great size. I think he's an every down back that he can pass protect. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. These types of guys don't come around very often anymore, simply because offenses in college are changing. Everybody's running this spread, using these smaller, quicker guys. This guy right here, in my opinion, is you can't pass this guy up. Now, do the Cowboys do they trade down to get him, and then they get other picks along with a great running back? Hopefully so. But this is a guy that you can't miss. There's not a receiver, in my opinion. There's not a quarterback. There's a tight end late that happens to play up in Fayetteville that if you can get your hands on him, he's a special one. But Ezekiel Elliott is the guy in this draft for the Cowboys that's a can't miss.
We all like to talk about that 1st round pick, the early 2nd round pick, but Mickey, you know, the draft goes on for the Cowboys with 9 picks, and that's where they can pick up some really good steals, some really good depth that they'll need. Anything in particular you're looking for in day 3?
Well, if they don't find a running back in the 1st round, and by the way, when I saw Ezekiel Elliott play here in the national championship game, it was the year before, and he ran into the end zone and was almost up the tunnel, and I said they should shut the door and keep him here. Okay, I think a lot of him also. I think when you get to the 3rd round, 4th round, there's going to be some other running backs that you can take a look at. And one of the guys that caught my eye at the Senior Bowl, it was the running back from Alabama, Kenyon Drake. A lot of speed. If he's not your starting running back, he can be your return guy. keep an eye on that guy.
And Mick, you talk about those late round draft picks. Cowboys have been exceptional up at the top of the draft in the first round. They've drafted more Pro Bowlers and All Pros in the last 6 years than any team in the NFL. Where they have lacked is the later rounds. I think two things you're looking for at that point: a small school guy that's got overlooked, or a big school guy with all the measurables that didn't quite play up to his potential, and you think you can get something out of him.
Babe, Mickey, Clint, thank you. That's going to do it for us. But we will be back for a special post-draft special where we'll break down the Cowboys' big picks and how they address the biggest needs. We'll see you soon.